JBNN will keep you informed. I'm Michelle Jones, and in the news. Missing Acting Deputy Commissioner of Corrections found dead. The body of missing Acting Deputy Commissioner of Corrections, Reverend Orville Moore, has been found. Reverend Moore's body was found earlier today in Spurtree, Manchester. The body was found beside the wreckage of his silver Toyota Fortuner motor vehicle. This was confirmed by Acting Assistant Commissioner Cleon Marsh, head of the Criminal Investigation Branch, CIB. Marsh said that based on preliminary investigations, the police do not suspect foul play. Moore was reported missing on Monday, hours after he was seen leaving the home of his relatives of Mullines Road in St. Andrew. Reverend Moore, who was the Chief Rehabilitation and Probation Aftercare Officer, was recently appointed Interim Deputy Commissioner following changes in the leadership of the Department of Correctional Services. Vendor found dead at People's Arcade. A male vendor who sold cell phone accessories at the Montego Bay Transport Center in St. James was discovered dead inside a shop at the People's Arcade, where he reportedly resides. The victim has been identified as Llewellyn Ossen, otherwise called Indian or Brown Man, of a racecourse address in Trelawney. It is reported that about 3 a.m., residents heard gunshots coming from a section of the People's Arcade and alerted the Barnett Street Police. On arrival of the lawmen, Ossen was discovered partially nude, lying on his bed with a single gunshot wound to his head. The room was also ransacked. Businesswoman among 3 killed in St. James. Officers attached to the Major Investigation Division have commenced a probe into the shooting deaths of 2 men at a house in Roehampton and the murder of a businesswoman in Tucker, St. James, on Wednesday night. The victims have been identified as 20-year-old Tavar Dolman and a 23-year-old Linston Anderson, both of a Roehampton address, and a 37-year-old Andrea Hansen of retirement St. James. The police say about 11:30 p.m. the men were at home when heavily armed men forced their way inside the house and opened fire, hitting them multiple times. The police were summoned, and upon their arrival, Dolman and Anderson were discovered suffering from gunshot wounds. They were rushed to hospital, where they were pronounced dead. This is the second shooting in the Roehampton community this week. On Tuesday, 2 men were shot, one fatally. In the other incident, Hansen was shot while at a car wash, which he operates with her boyfriend in Tucker, about 7 p.m. Reports indicate that Hansen was sitting at the establishment when a motor vehicle drove up and 2 men armed with handguns alighted and ran over to her. She ran inside the vehicle, where she was cornered and shot. The gunmen escaped in the waiting motor car. Hansen was pronounced dead at the Cornwall Regional Hospital. No motive has been established for the shootings. St. James has recorded 77 murders since January. 2 shot, 1 fatally in St. Anne. The Senton police are probing the shooting of 2 men, 1 fatally, in the community of Lewis, near St. Anne's Bay, on Wednesday evening. The deceased is unidentified. About 7 o'clock, residents of Stony Hill District in Lewis heard explosions and called the police. 2 men were found along the roadway with bullet wounds. 1 died at the scene, while the other is in serious condition in hospital. St. Anne has recorded 31 murders since the start of the year. Arson suspected in fire at Linstead Market. Arson is suspected to be the cause of an early morning fire which destroyed at least 20 stalls at Linstead Market in St. Catherine. According to the Jamaica Fire Brigade, the blaze started about 4:20 a.m. Counsellor for the Linstead Division, Herbert Garrigues, believes the fire was deliberately set. There's another section at the front of the market exactly where you can see plastics were set afire, and luckily somebody was upstairs the market saw it and threw water and got it out. Obviously, this section was kind of more condensed, and so was not able to do this, but thank God the fire brigade was quickly on spot, he said. According to Garrigues, the quick response of the Jamaica Fire Brigade prevented further losses. Vendors affected by the fire say they have lost thousands of dollars in goods. Me lose a whole heap. Everything when me sell, me lose it. said Eulalie Campbell, who lamented that her losses amounted to more than $100,000. When me just hear, me start cry. Me have a little boy for graduate July come. Him at 12. Another vendor, Eulalie White, bemoaned. The vendors are appealing for help. Man to serve 18 years for murder. A man who calmly confessed to the police that he shot a young father because he could not catch his friend will have to serve 18 years in prison for the crime. Shavon Robinson was sentenced on Wednesday to life in prison at hard labor and ordered to serve 18 years and 2 months before he is eligible for parole for the 2017 killing of Adrian Davis. He was also sentenced to 15 years in prison at hard labor for illegal possession of firearm. The sentences are to run concurrently. Robinson pleaded guilty to the charges on March 2 in the Home Circuit Court. Davis left his son at school on March 28, 2017 and was walking along Wildman Street in downtown Kingston when residents reported hearing explosions. He was found on a sidewalk with gunshot wounds, and Robinson was seen hurriedly leaving the area with a gun in his hand. Robinson fired 2 shots in the direction of a house and 2 more in the air before making his escape, according to evidence prosecutors presented in court. Davis succumbed to his injuries 8 days later. Robinson was apprehended on June 14, 2018 in the East Kingston community of Franklin Town. After he was cautioned and told that he was wanted for Davis's murder, he reportedly replied, "Officer, I dem first make off of me, and I never immediately want kill him friend." During a subsequent interview with investigators, he said, "Me go fi kill him friend or make off of me, but I him see so him get it. Well, uno done hold me already, and I may do it so no nothing that," he said when asked if he wanted to give a statement in the presence of his attorney. Bolt obtains court order. Usain Bolt has obtained a court order for 2 banks to disclose the transaction history of accounts owned by Genon Panton, the only person charged in the $3 billion fraud at Stocks and Securities Limited, SSL. Supreme Court Justice Cresania Brown Beckford granted the order yesterday, according to Frater Ennis and Gordon, the law firm representing Bolt and Wellgen Limited. The Jamaican sports icon opened an account in the name of his holding company, Wellgen, at the private investment and brokerage firm in 2012. The law firm declined to comment on the details of the order. The bank order will bolster a freezing order obtained in February against assets of Panton, a former client relationship manager at SSL. The first order provides for Panton's assets up to the amount of $6 million plus to be frozen. A production order would also be made for Panton to provide a statement of all her assets, real estate holdings, shares, and stocks, among others. Wellgen's account value plummeted from $2 billion Jamaican dollars, or $12.7 million in October 2022, to $1.8 million Jamaican dollars, or $12,000 in January when he checked after being alerted by Panton. Bolt's legal team has said Wellgen's case is being heard together with a suit that investor 80-year-old Jean Ford filed against SSL and 10 other defendants, including Panton and SSL's founder Hugh Croskery. Ford is alleging that she was defrauded of $830,000. Wellgen's cases against SSL and Panton. The 2 matters are scheduled for next hearing on October 24, 2023. At that time, the judge will consider an application by SSL for Wellgen's case against it to be put on hold until a separate case involving the appointment of an SSL trustee settled. In April, the Supreme Court granted an interim injunction to regulator the Financial Services Commission (FSC), blocking SSL's bid to appoint Cadian Campbell as trustee to control its assets and to lead the winding up of the company. Justice Stephen Jackson Hazley accepted FSC's arguments that Campbell's appointment on January 16, 1 day before he took temporary management of SSL and appointed a temporary manager, will have serious repercussions for clients. There's a serious issue to be tried, and the claimant FSC has a real prospect of success in the claim, the judge said, adding later that the balance of convenience weighs heavily in favor of the granting of the injunction. SSL and Campbell are seeking to appeal that decision, claiming that the judge made numerous errors and that Campbell was properly appointed and that the FSC has no basis or right to bring the claim, among other things. The court has to consider the parties that are affected by this order. SSL is a company that has investors. They are parties who have sued SSL and are actively pursuing judgments. This is going on while the claims validation exercise that only the trustee can perform is not underway. So if there is judgment entered on any of the claims identified, that will crystallize their claim without validation, argued King's Counsel Caroline Hay in the appeal court on Monday. Hay is representing SSL and Campbell. A 3-judge panel will hand down a ruling today that will indicate whether SSL and Campbell can continue their quest for an appeal. Meanwhile, Cross-Courier said he strongly refutes a belated assertion from Panton was alleged that he made her an offer for a January 7, 2023 confession. She admitted to stealing about $700 million belonging to 39 clients. Wellgen was not among them. The said offer was an inducement, and the statement would not have been made otherwise, Panton said in a document filed in the suit brought by Ford. Panton said she made the statement in the presence of attorney Tamika Harris, who no longer represents her. Harris has declined to comment on the development. Attorney cries foul in separate mastermind's bail application. The attorney for the alleged mastermind behind the $160 million fraud at separate group of companies yesterday complained that his client's constitutional rights were being breached after the bail hearing was postponed and attempts by him to get an earlier date failed. Jason Grant is charged along with 24 other accused, all of whom have been granted station bail in the amount of $400,000. Following earlier complaints by his lawyer, C.J. Mitchell, that he was denied station bail because he refused to hand over his cell phone, a date was scheduled for the parish judge to entertain a bail application yesterday. There appears to be some degree of animosity that the investigator has against Mr. Grant because he did not surrender his cell phone, Mitchell said yesterday. But the application failed to proceed, as two new prosecutors were brought into the matter yesterday and it needed time to familiarize themselves with the file. Before date for the bail hearing was proposed, the clerk of the court informed the judge when asked why Grant's status was different from his co-accused that there were concerns that he would abscond and would interfere with the witnesses. As a result, he was not offered station bail. Consequently, a June 16 date was suggested, but Mitchell quickly asked for an earlier date of June 8 or 12, but was told that the court had two diaries and the proposed date was the next available date. This amounts to a denial in real terms of his constitution, Mitchell charged. He further argued that the Crown had initially indicated that it was not opposed to bail, but had not changed its position. Mitchell then reluctantly accepted the June 16 date after Parish Judge Leighton Morrison emphasized the importance of the prosecutor being given time to go through the file to properly deal with the application. JBN, we keep you informed. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, leave us a comment, and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.